Certainly we all want to breathe clean air, don't we?
Of course, but tonight, Denver 7 investigator Ryan Luby is here to tell us why Colorado's vehicle emissions program is costing some drivers a lot of time and a lot of money, right?
It is, and that's because the program is giving some of these folks a runaround. We know this because mechanics came to us and told us that vehicles are failing Colorado's emissions test when they should not be, time and again. Well, we dug through the government's own data to help prove this. And tonight we investigate if the program that cost Coloradans $50 million just last year should change. If you got a problem under the hood, you gotta find a fix. That's what they do for a living at the Downing Street Garage in Denver. But trouble is, they say the problems people sometimes think they have just do not add up.
We actually confirmed that there wasn't anything drastically wrong with the vehicle.
This is David Guthrie, a mechanic here, and that's him talking about the 1996 Toyota RAV4 brought in by Gail Lawlett.
My dear old baby.
You see, it went through a testing runaround with the state. First, it passed on emissions but failed on a gas cap.
No big deal, I'll go get a new gas cap.
Then it flip-flopped, passed on a brand new gas cap but failed on emissions test after test. It took 4 rounds of testing to pass altogether, but that was after more than $200 in expenses for not a single repair other than that gas cap.
Should there be room for error on any of these types?
No, none whatsoever.
Guthrie says he's seen this type of charade before.
There have been others, exactly, yep.
And that's why he's sounding the alarm now.
If their numbers are very, very close to the threshold, oftentimes than not, we've found that people have surprisingly got through without performing any additional repairs.
In particular, he's concerned about the emissions test used on vehicles 11 years and older, going back to model year 1982. They're put on a treadmill-like device called a dynamometer and driven by a technician, sometimes up to 60 miles an hour. At the same time, a computer measures the emissions coming out of the tailpipe. If a car fails, it gets an immediate, free, second-chance retest on the spot. If it fails again, a free retest within 10 days. Beyond that, the $25 testing fees can start adding up. Now, while that might seem reasonable, Guthrie argues that there's room for operator error.
This test revolves primarily around the individual tester who's performing the test and whether or not they drive the car appropriately.
Denver 7 Investigates team got a year's worth of data from a public records request and discovered test results are inconsistent, but that emissions limits are unforgiving. Our analysis shows roughly 578,000 vehicles were put through that dynamometer test. Of those, roughly 2,700 went through it on 3 or more different occasions and ultimately passed, including a vehicle that failed on emissions at one station by just 1/100th of a point, then passed at a different station less than an hour later. So what gives?
This is why we wanted to go inside, by the way. But go ahead.
The state was less than enthusiastic to hear our questions.
The emissions from any one car, as we say on our website, can vary from day to day or test to test. That's one reason we give people a second chance test.
Could you do a third chance test or a fourth chance test? I mean, these are people. But no, I know. But that's what people would wonder. Can they do it again, right there on the spot?
They can bring their. There's not a penalty for failing your test. You can have your car tested as many times as it takes in order to get a passing certificate.
You have to pay for it. You have to pay for
and
it,
bring
though.
it in,
Right.
and get your car registered.
Correct.
They also took issue with us looking at the most recent emissions audit from 2012. Auditors said the program does in fact reduce ozone levels, but by less than 1% of the national standard. They also pointed out that the state could do away with that dynamometer test on vehicles built in 1996 or after because they all have built-in emissions sensors which spit out engine codes when plugged in to tell you if anything's wrong.
Here we go.
That RAV4 of Gail Lawlett's is one such vehicle. No engine codes whatsoever. Confirmation of what the state's testing ultimately found all along after it put her through the ringer.
I don't think it should be that hard to do this accurately. I honestly don't.
She says that as a champion of cleaning the air, but also as a driver who got fed up.
A little inconvenience to do that's fine, but not if it's not working well.
Our investigation is not done. We spoke with Air Care Colorado as well to ask in part if one type of test is more beneficial than another.
I wouldn't say more beneficial, equally possibly, but I wouldn't say necessarily more beneficial. I think that they're very similar tests in terms of what they're looking at.
Either way, Air Care and the state insist the type of test you saw is better at getting old, dirty vehicles fixed or off the road. We will get into that in detail on Wednesday. Also, we expect to hear from legislators. Back to you.